Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves a jam-packed show, as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Lakers. They are moving on to the Western Conference Finals as they have dethroned the Golden State Warriors. Hashtag SoCal greater than NorCal. But the Lakers have dethroned the Golden State Warriors, and they are moving on to take on the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. Well done, Lakers. Well done. And the Chargers and Rams' schedule has been released. Can both those teams have success? Also, the Dodgers are back where they belong on top of their division. Can they stay there? And the Angels have been when it comes to their schedule. Can they actually continue to do better? Also, how about UCLA and USC getting some national championships in the world of volleyball? Also, we have a little NBA to discuss. I know I discussed some NBA last Monday on Set Point, but I might as well talk a little bit more on this week's show. Also, we have a little bit of NHL as we have to basically bury the Kings. And we have some dum-dums of the week to go over. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have tuned in to episode 133 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Apologies if I missed last week. I was at Long Beach City College for the NVA, but I am here now for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok. We also have Facebook for those that still use that social media platform. All you just gotta do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio in the search bar. Then you see our logo. Then just like us and follow us on Facebook. And then boom, that's how you follow us on Facebook. We also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com. And once you go there, you will see a Patreon link at the top. And once you click on it and you choose to donate, if you choose to do so, donations will start out at $5 a month. This will get you a shout out from all 26 of our shows, and higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, the podcasting university of IE Sports Radio, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment with Larry B. Because for the past 8 years, with 2 days being 9 years coming up, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Shout out to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised Apparel, Key to the Gate, Marcus Loscrit, and a donor that wishes to remain anonymous. Also, I've been meaning to get this shout out the way. Big shout out to Adam Karnick for winning the IE Sports Radio NFL Draft Challenge. as he won the NFL Draft Challenge. Basically, he got all the he basically was the most accurate draft predicting. He basically got the most accurate draft prediction right. His mock draft was the most accurate when it came to the actual draft of the actual draft. So congratulations to Adam Connick for winning the 2023 IE Sports Radio Mock Draft Challenge. He joins myself and Mike Pat in the IE Sports Radio Mock Draft Hall of Fame. So with all that said and done, let us begin. As Larry B pops in the chat room, as well as Cale Henderson, he mentions Lakers in 6. And yes, that will be something we talk about. And Larry B pops in the chat room. He talks about the mecca of volleyball, SoCal. And yes, let us do this. All right, so where we left off. So we were going to talk some. We might as well talk. We're definitely going to talk the Lakers. We got to talk the Lakers just because, well, obviously that was what happened last night. But we're going to hold off on them just for a little bit. We're going to talk a little Chargers and Rams. I mean, just for a little bit. I'm not going to go full on detail. I just want to recap all of the Chargers and Rams' picks just because, well, NFL is king, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So, for the Chargers draft picks, at where we left off was they managed to pick in the first round. They selected Quentin Johnson, which, to me, like I said, it was a good pick, and I did not mind this pick. It's a good first-round pick, and according to Yahoo Sports, it was a B. Now, everyone is saying that everyone has their mixed feelings. I first had mixed feelings about this, too, but honestly, I thought it was a good pick. Keenan Allen's getting up there in age. You never know with Mike Williams. Jalen Guyton is coming off of a torn ACL. So I think it's good. He could be a good, speedy wide receiver, and he can create space. And Adam Connick said it in the chat room last year. The Quentin Johnson pick can definitely pan out. And they signed most of their picks to their rookie contract deal. Now, the only one they did not sign to their rookie contract deal, which makes me sad, is their second-round pick, Tuli Tuipulotu. Now, I want the Chargers to sign this guy to their rookie contract deal. He was their second-round pick, picked 54th overall, and he's an edge rusher. This was a big, big pick for them, and he is going to learn quite well from Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. And they needed to build depth on the defensive end, and Tuipulotu is going to build quite nicely. And then the third-round pick, the Chargers selected Dion Henley from Washington State, linebacker. That was another B grade, according to Yahoo Sports. Now, everyone has their, like I said, everyone has their takes, and Yahoo Sports has given him B grades, which is cool, I guess. And then the Chargers in the fourth round, they went Darius Davis. I guess that's a good pick, but then I saw... at first I was skeptical of this pick. It's like, why would you go wide receiver again? You have a bunch of wide receivers on your team. You've got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You drafted wide receiver round 1. You've got Jalen Guyton, even though he's coming off of an ACL tear. You've got... I'm blanking on the wide receiver that came out of Tennessee last year, but he was also good. Now you're drafting another wide receiver, but then I saw Darius Davis's speed, one of his highlight films, and he had a lot of great yards after catch, and it's like, oh boy. Darius Davis is going to be was actually a pretty solid pick. So he has a lot of speed. So I think this pick in the fourth round was actually pretty good. Now, in the fifth round, the Chargers went offensive line, which I think that is fairly good. I think that's something that they also needed to address as well. They went Jordan McFadden, offensive line from Clemson, which was a B-plus grade, which that's something they needed to address just because they got to protect Justin Herbert ASAP. And while Jordan McFadden isn't the biggest offensive lineman, he fits the bill, and I think he definitely can get the job done. And from what I heard, he didn't really allow too many pressures or sacks at Clemson. So that's a promise. That's very promising. Then the 6th round, the Chargers drafted with the 200th overall pick, Scott Matlock, defensive lineman from Boise State. And that was an A- grade according to Yahoo Sports. Now, this is actually a good grade. Now, this was something else the Chargers needed to address, obviously with the Tui Pelotu draft pick, as well as the 3rd round pick with Dion Henley. So I think this could also be a pan-out grade for the Chargers. And for me, I think this could also work in their favor as well. I think Scott Matlock also works in their favor, and believe it or not, he could also play receiver, which I guess that works to their favor as well. Now, with the Chargers' 7th round pick, and I won't knock this pick, the Chargers, with their 7th round pick, they selected, can we get a drum roll please? They selected Max Duggan, quarterback out of TCU. Now, I kind of didn't understand this. I mean, Max Duggan obviously led TCU to the national championship, and I was just baffled by the number of TCU players that the Chargers selected. Like, almost half of their players were TCU players. Their 1st round pick was a TCU player, their 4th round pick was a TCU player, and their last pick was a TCU player. So it's like, why do we need another quarterback? We've got Easton Stick and we have Justin Herbert. So this was a C grade, but it's like, I don't really care about this grade. I mean, the grade doesn't matter. Max Duggan is obviously going to make Justin Herbert better. And Justin Herbert is coming off of shoulder surgery, which he should be back in time for training camp. So getting Max Duggan is definitely a plus. And in case for some weird reason Justin Herbert gets hurt, heaven forbid, Max Duggan can come in. And heaven knows, maybe Max Duggan can run some sort of trick play. I mean, with Kellen Moore, anything is possible. Hopefully not in the worst way. Now, Max Duggan's not going to take Justin Herbert's spot overnight, that's for sure. But Max Duggan is definitely going to work hard in training camp, and he's going to learn the system under Brandon Staley and under Kellen Moore. And he's going to be a nice little football mind to talk football with Justin Herbert. So I think the Chargers the Chargers football draft was definitely great. And Larry B said it best, the Chargers got better. Yeah, there's no pick that the Chargers had that was bad. I mean, the 7th round was but it's a 7th round pick. You can't knock it. Like, if the Chargers picked like offensive linemen, they probably would have had a C grade. But it's all good. And Mike Pat likes the Tui Pelotu pick. That's facts right there. It's all about pen and paper at this point for the Chargers. When I saw that the Chargers signed 6 of their 7 draft picks, I was basically happy. But then when I saw their 2nd round pick, I was like, who is their 2nd round pick? And I was like, yeah, Tuli, please get drafted ASAP. I'll do anything. All right, but that is pretty much that for the Chargers. I'll get into their schedule a little bit later. But right now we got to go over the Rams. I didn't get a chance to talk about their schedule because at the time they had no 1st round picks because they said F them picks. No, really, they said F them picks. Anyway, so the Rams basically shuffled around their picks. Much like the Chargers, their first pick in the draft, in terms of selecting picks. Oh, Mike Pack says, 7th round picks can only add to your grade, in my opinion. How can you knock the 250th pick selected? I mean, seriously. Yeah, I totally agree. So, to me, I think the 7th round pick, to me, cannot be knocked in any way. It can only help you. So, I think, for me, the 7th round pick can't be knocked. I think the Chargers had a really good draft, and for those that say otherwise, they don't know football. Anyway, So for the Rams, their second round pick, they selected in the second round, 36th overall. They selected Steve Avila, offensive guard from TCU. That was a B+. Now, obviously, the Rams need to address the protection of Matthew Stafford. He got trounced, thumped, crushed. It got to the point where Matthew Stafford had to miss pretty much the rest of the season from last year, and it was rough for Matthew Stafford. I felt so bad. He got turned into a radish. So this was a great pick. According to the Tennessean, or Nick Gray of the Nashville Tennessean, this was a B+ grade. So good job on the Rams for knocking that out of the park. Then the third round, the number 77 pick, claimed from the Miami Dolphins, or claimed from the New England Patriots via the Miami Dolphins. The Rams selected Byron Young, edge rusher from Tennessee, which was an instant B+ grade. And I think this was a decent grade. I think, according to the analysis, the Rams can set this quick switch Vols edge rusher on the edge line of the scrimmage and let him chase quarterbacks from day one. Well, the Rams do need more defensive pressure, and for the Rams, you never know what's going to happen with Aaron Donald. Obviously, Aaron Donald is going to play as long as he can, but heaven knows, he got his ring and he's getting paid, so maybe develop him, sculpt him into becoming that next Aaron Donald, but we'll see. So also in the third round, the Rams selected 89th overall as they got a pick from the New York Giants, as they selected Kobe Turner, defensive lineman from Wake Forest, as this was a C+ grade according to the Tennessean. As according to the said writer, he said, "I want Turner to succeed so that undersized linemen can continue to get credit, but I'm unsure that he has the strength to be a long-term contributor in the NFL." Okay. I mean, I can't overly knock this pick. I mean, I guess the Rams needed defensive help, so I can't knock this pick too much. It is what it is for the Rams. Then in the fourth round, the Rams decided to go with a quarterback. Excuse me for 1 second. And this had me kind of fun. This pick had me. Well, the grade had me laughing, and the pick was rather interesting. So the Rams decided to go with a quarterback in the fourth round with the 128th pick, as they got that pick from the New York Giants, as they went with Stetson Bennett, quarterback from Georgia, who led that team to the national championship for the second straight year. So good job to the Rams for selecting Stetson Bennett. But I think I understand why this person gave the grade he gave the grade to the Rams for. He gave the Stetson Bennett pick a C-. 1 second. He gave the pick a C-. I think I know why, though. This website that I'm getting it off of is the Tennessean. Don't you know the coincidence? Tennessee, the Tennessee Vols, Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs. Stetson Bennett was from Georgia. Clearly there is some bias here. So I clearly understand why. But for me, I guess this is good. I mean, their quarterback room outside of Matthew Stafford is kind of a little lackluster. John Wolford left. Baker Mayfield left. So they kind of need that better quarterback room. Unless they want to, tank for Caleb Williams. But I don't even know when their next first-round pick is. Off the top of my head, of course. Anyway, moving on. Next pick for the Rams was in the fifth round, 161st overall. This was actually from the Dallas Cowboys via the Houston Texans. The Rams selected Nick Hampton, edge rusher from Appalachian State. He just gave this one a C+. He didn't really go in depth. So I guess from from fourth round down. He didn't really give any analysis, but whatever. Then the fifth round pick, the Rams got a compensatory. They got a pick from the Las Vegas Raiders via the Houston Texans, 174th overall, as the Rams selected Warren McClendon, offensive tackle from Georgia. This was a B+ pick. Now, I'm surprised he didn't give this one a B-, but I guess there is no bias with this guy when it comes to Georgia and Tennessee. So, a compository pick from the Rams. Okay, so Mike Pat confirms that the Rams do have a first-round pick next year. Okay, so that's good. So, in case the Rams do have to they do have to crumble for Caleb, a.k.a. Caleb Williams, then so be it. But the Rams picked Warren McClendon, offensive tackle from Georgia, with the 174th pick from the compository pick from the Las Vegas Raiders via the Houston Texans. That's cool. And it's a B+ pick, so again, it's another offensive lineman pick from the draft, so you can't go wrong with that. You got to protect Matthew Stafford. Then another compository pick this time from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Rams selected Davis Allen, tight end from Clemson. So it's a B+. This one was a B+ grade. So I don't know what the dealio is with Tyler Higbee. I promise you I will never say what's the dealio. But anyway, they're saying this is a B+ grade. I guess that's cool. So heaven knows they're not going to use the tight end from Miami, because that was probably the biggest waste of a trade for Jalen Ramsey. All that just for a third-round pick and just for a tight end who I've never even heard of. Yikes. Miami scored with that Jalen Ramsey deal. Way to make the Dolphins better, Rams. Anyway, so fifth-round pick, Davis Allen, tight end, Clemson. I guess that works. Depending on what's going to be the deal with Tyler Higbee, you obviously have to get that young blood in Davis Allen, and you never know what could happen with Tyler Higbee. And who knows, maybe Davis Allen could be a better blocking tight end. And then maybe Matthew Stafford can throw deep to Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson and all those other wide receiver targets. So if they're saying it's a B+ grade, then I like it. Then also in the fifth round, with the 177th overall pick, which was another compository pick, which the NFL gave them, the Rams selected Puka Nacua, wide receiver from BYU. This was a B+ grade, or this was a B grade in general. So the Rams are actually being smart with this grade. They were actually pretty smart with this draft, as Mike Pat also said the Rams low-key had a really good draft, in my opinion. I think they literally addressed every position, LOL. Yeah, I think so too. And their problem is that they needed the offensive line mostly, and they just got decimated in every position whatsoever. They got hurt in every position. They were just bitten by the injury bug, and they're practically just having a everything must go sale. So now they have to rebuild their roster. Then in the sixth round, with the 182nd overall pick, the Rams selected Tre'Vius Hodges Tomlinson, defensive back from TCU. This is an A- grade, which that's a promising start. And if the Rams are going to rebuild that defense to what it was when they won the Super Bowl, or what it was back when Brandon Staley was on that team, which I don't even think Brandon Staley gets any credit, just because Aaron Donald practically carried that defense. That's just how I feel. But anyway, for me, A- pick, according to the Tennessee Ian, I like it. So I think for the Rams, they kind of are hitting the bullseye with some of these picks. Now, obviously, everyone has their own opinion, but I think Mike Pat said it best. The Rams addressed every position, and they're getting the picks that they lost in terms of... They're drafting the players that they lost in terms of their in terms of their free agents. And then with the 189th pick from the Tennessee Titans, the Rams selected edge rusher from Nebraska, Ocon Mathis. This was a B pick, and again, if the Rams want to rebuild their defense from what it was back in the old days where it dominated and made quarterbacks' lives a living nightmare, they're going to have to basically start from scratch and make it young and rebuild it from the bottom and make it as basically build it from the bottom and go from there. Mike says Hodges Tomlinson is really good, but he's undersized, is going to be limited to the slot. Okay, well that's great input from Mike. So that is actually, I did not know that, and yeah, it helps that I have. It would help if I definitely had some. This Tennessee draft recap does not really help me. Thanks, Tennessee Ian. It's just everything fourth round is basically just basically a grade, and that's it. But oh well. Then the seventh round, the Rams selected 223rd overall. Oh, I forgot one more sixth round pick. The Rams selected another compository pick from the Washington Commanders, running back Zach Evans from Ole Miss. This was a B- grade. So I don't know what the running back room is for the Rams. I know they have, what's his face? I think it's like something Henderson. But either way, the Rams' running back room, and then they also have Cam Akers and whatnot. I don't even know if they still have Cam Akers, but either way, the Rams' running back room has seen better days. But that's why Cale Henderson said it best one time on his show, Sin City Sports, which goes live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. You got to build your running back room with the draft every single year. I mean, look at what the Kansas City Chiefs did with Isaiah Pacheco. Beast of a running back, drafted in the 7th round out of Rutgers, and he was a beast at the running back position. Helped the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this past season, and he's definitely going to be a bright spot for the Chiefs this upcoming season. And he's definitely taken Clyde Edwards-Helaire's spot, and as well, he's taken the running back number 1 spot, and Jerick McKinnon's going to probably take the running back number 2 spot. Like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is pretty much not even relevant in the running back scheme of the Chiefs. But I'm getting off topic. Back to the Rams. They're going to have to rebuild the running back scheme. They got to get fresh legs to replenish the old legs. That's just how I look at it. All right, now we move on to the 7th round. As the Rams have they had 3 picks in the 7th round. As their first 7th round pick was Ethan Evans, punter from Wingate. That was a C grade, and I don't even know who. All I know is that the previous punter who had those fake punts, who I'm blanking on the name of their previous punter, honestly, but it was the guy that had the fake punts and whatnot. I think it was like Sam something, but either way, I guess the Rams needed a new punter, and they have a new punter in Ethan Evans. But it is what it is. It's a punter grade, and it's a C, and the Tennessean gave it a C grade. Now in the 7th round, the Rams selected Johnny Hecker. Okay, thanks, Mike. Johnny Hecker, that was his name. So thank you, Mike. So yeah, Johnny Hecker, I think is not on the team for the Rams anymore, and that was what made me sad. So anyway, so also in the 7th round for the Rams, they selected with the 234th overall pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jason Taylor II, defensive back from Oklahoma State. This was an A- grade according to the Tennessean. Again, another defensive grade, and I think this is a good grade. This is a good pick. And this is going to be a young defense for the Rams, so expect the Rams to give up I don't know, maybe 20 or so points per game this year. It's going to have some growing pains, but in the coming years, if the Rams keep everyone together and that defense continues to grow and learn from Aaron Donald, I think it can be something special. Now, it's obviously not going to be as special as it was when it won the Super Bowl, but it's definitely going to be something big. And then the last pick from the Rams with the 259th pick, another compository pick from the Houston Texans. The Rams selected, I'm probably going to pronounce this incorrectly, Deshaun Johnson, edge rusher from Toledo. This was a B pick from the Rams. Again, it's another defensive player pick from the Rams. And this seemed to be a defensive heavy pick for the Rams, in my opinion. And considering the Rams were just decimated in terms of the defensive front, I think this is something the Rams needed. And I really think that for the Rams, they're going to need to rebuild that defense to what it once was of when they were dominant in terms of winning games. Now, for the Rams, I'm not going to say the Rams had the best draft and they're going to win the NFC West. But I will say it's basically going to be a time will tell team. The Rams, to me, will be a time will tell team. And if they can stay healthy, I think that they can be as productive as they were last year. Kale says the 7th round pick should be graded based on the value of the pick. For example, if the player is picked in the 7th but received a 4th round grade, which happens often, then it's a great value pick. Details matter too. If that 4th round pick projects a starter level player and the player was picked in the 7th, then it's a great pick and adds value to the overall team grade. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you, Kale. And this doesn't really add too much context, and this doesn't really this whole thing doesn't really give a overall grade to the Rams. It doesn't give the overall grade to the Rams. It just grades their picks and has a little blurb to their 2nd and 3rd and 1st round picks, which unfortunately the Rams didn't have any 1st round picks. But oh well, what can you do? But for the Rams, I think the Rams they had more quantity in their picks, and that was kind of something I think that was needed to be addressed, and I totally agree with you. I think the Stetson Bennett thing was kind of a little meh. I think it was kind of more so of a Georgia pick because Matthew Stafford went to Georgia, Stetson Bennett went to Georgia, and probably seemed like a McVay pick if you ask me. So heaven knows why they went with Stetson Bennett, but God knows why. But for the Rams, I think it was a productive draft, and we'll see what happens with the Rams going forward. I think it's certainly going to be their season's going to be much better. And that's actually a perfect segue to go into their schedule release. So for the Rams, everyone released their schedule on Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, which obviously it was something really good. So for the Rams, they didn't really have the flashiest scheduled release, unlike a certain other team. I'll get into that a little bit later, but for the Rams, they had a schedule. They just released their schedule, and week 1 they will be at the Seattle Seahawks. No. Let's go over preseason. So preseason, they play the Los Angeles Chargers, then they've got on August 12th. Then they've got the Las Vegas Raiders on August 19th. And then they're at the Denver Broncos on August 26th. Then they've got the regular season, starting on September 10th at the Seattle Seahawks. It's already going to be a division battle right off the bat. Then after that, in week 2, they are home against the San Francisco 49ers. Then in week 3, they are at the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football, which, God, 3 really tough matchups right off the bat. Now, Seattle could be a little bit of a 50-50 matchup just because they played the Seahawks tough in both matchups, and they only lost by 1 score. Then in week 4, the Rams play at the Indianapolis Colts. Week 5, the Rams host the Philadelphia Eagles. Week 6, the Rams host the Arizona Cardinals. Week 7, the Rams host the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 8, the Rams hit the road to Jerry World to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Week 9, the Rams hit the road to Cheese World to go to play Green Bay. Week 10 is their bye. Week 11, the Rams welcome the Seattle Seahawks for round 2. Week 12, the Rams head down to the Cactus State to play the Arizona Cardinals. Week 13, the Rams welcome the Cleveland Browns. Week 14, the Rams head down to the DMV to play the Baltimore Ravens. Week 15, the Rams welcome the Washington Commanders. Week 16, the Rams have a short week and they welcome the New Orleans Saints. Week 17, they have a little bit of a time off, and then they head down to the Big Apple, not the Big Apple. They head down to Jersey, aka MetLife Stadium, to play the New York Giants. And then in week 18, they will head down to NorCal to take on the San Francisco 49ers. So looking at their schedule, it is a very challenging schedule. You've got quite a number of playoff teams and teams that are definitely going to be cutthroat. So I'm very, very concerned for the Rams. It's obviously going to be a bit of a rebuild year. I mean, look at that. The first three games are right off the bat are just so tough. You've got the Seahawks, definitely one of the surprise teams from last year. The Niners, which have had the Rams number in the regular season. You've got the Bengals, which that's a rematch of Super Bowl 55 or 53. Either way, it was a rematch from the Super Bowl from 2 seasons ago. So the Rams could potentially open up the season 0-3. And that could be detrimental right there, because not a whole lot of teams that open the season 0-3 make the playoffs. And fortunately, they get a little bit of a breather when they play the Colts. But it's just a little bit of a breather, not a big breather. So we'll see what happens for the Rams going forward. And I hope they're able to right the ship. But I would not put it anywhere past the Rams starting 0-3. Yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be a rough start for the Rams to say the least. And that's that game is a primetime game against the Bengals. The Rams are going to be in for a rough ride. And then they've got the Eagles. If the Rams start 0-4, they're not making the playoffs. I can already assure you that. The Rams you can't really predict what the Colts are going to be. Now, the Colts are obviously going to have a new quarterback. They're obviously going to have Jonathan Taylor. They obviously are going to have Shane Steichen, who had success with the Philadelphia Eagles and a little bit of success with the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Colts, to me, are an anomaly. But then after that, they've got the Eagles. If they can't beat the Colts, they're not going to beat the Eagles. They're going to be 0-5. Then the Cardinals, they have to beat the Cardinals. That's their only saving grace of winning a divisional game. And then after the Cardinals, they've got the Steelers. I'm not sure if they could win that one because the Steelers are pretty darn good as well. Steelers play bully ball. And then against the Dallas Cowboys are fairly strong as well. I would not put it past the Cowboys winning that matchup. Even though Dak Prescott's not the best quarterback, I think that defense can play bully ball with the Rams. And I already can tell that the Rams are not going to beat the Green Bay Packers. They never, ever, 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 ever win at Green Bay. And guess where the Rams are playing at? Lambeau Field. So, at best, through the first 9 games, I probably have the Rams going 2-7. And that's being a little generous. And that's me giving the Rams wins against the Cardinals and the Colts. And then against the Seahawks, I'll probably give them a win, just because you got to defend your home field. And then a win over the Cardinals. Then the Browns. Now, the Browns are also an anomaly. They're 50-50 in my opinion. I think they can beat the Browns, but I don't know. The Browns, to me, are also intimidating. Their defense is strong. Deshaun Watson has a full season, is now going to be no longer rusty. And Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb are basically going to be a great 1-2 punch. So I don't think that the Rams could win that one. And then at Baltimore, that's also going to be tough as well. So that's also a loss right there in my opinion. If I'm wrong, then I will gladly eat my crow, especially in front of my brother. And then Sunday against Washington, Sunday, December 17th against Washington. Mike, you're going to hate me for this if you're still listening. I think the Rams could win that one. And then Thursday against the New Orleans Saints. Well, the Rams had success against Derek Carr last year. I think they could have success this year. So I'll give the Rams a win over the Saints. And then against the New York Football Giants, the Giants are improved under Brian Daboll. If it were any other coach than Brian Daboll, I'd maybe say Rams win. But I just don't see it. I'm not feeling a win over the football Giants, especially at MetLife Stadium. So I think the Rams don't win that one. And then against the Niners, I have to defer to the Niners, unfortunately. So for the time being, I got the Rams finishing 6-11. This is a way too early prediction at a glance. A lot can happen from the span of, what are we? We're in from May 13th all the way to September 10th. But anything could happen. For the time being, though, it's looking like this could be a little bit of a rebuild season for the Rams. Now, for the Chargers, let's get their preseason games out of the way. They're playing the Rams at the Rams, and then they host the Saints, and then they're at the 49ers. That's your preseason schedule. We don't care about preseason, though. I will not ever get fully invested in the preseason. Now, preseason obviously has player development and basically we get some sort of football, but I will not ever flip out over a preseason win or a preseason loss. If that ever happens, I will gladly be Dum-Dum of the Week. But anyway, week 1 for the Chargers. First of all, I have to give the Big W award to the Los Angeles Chargers and their content team or their media team for creating another great schedule release video. Darn good job for the Chargers. If you haven't seen their schedule release video, definitely do check it out. It is a top-notch job. Anyway, so week 1 for the Chargers, they host the Miami Dolphins. Alright, so this is probably the trickiest matchup of all time. Now, the Dolphins to me are 50-50. Tua is definitely a talented quarterback. The Dolphins have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They've got a good run game. They've improved on defense. But here's the thing for the Chargers. They've started 0-4 the last, or I'm sorry, not 0-4. 1-1. 1-0 the last 4 seasons. So they've won their season opener the past 4 seasons. I think it'll be 5. I think the Chargers eke out a win over the Dolphins. I think Justin Herbert narrowly, hence the word narrowly, outplays Tua. And did I say the Rams at the Rams? I meant the Chargers at the Rams. Sorry. But it might as well just be Rams at the Rams, just because I want to say it's mainly Rams fans at the games, but it is what it is. Anyway, but week 1, Chargers at Dolphins. I got the Chargers narrowly pulling out the win over the Dolphins. Then week 2, the Chargers head down to the Music City to take on the Tennessee Titans. I got the Chargers winning that one too. The only concern would be Derrick Henry. If the Chargers' run game is as it was in past seasons, where it's complete dog water, that would be my only concern. But if the Chargers' run defense is improved, I hope to God that the Chargers are able to not let Derrick Henry cook. So I got the Chargers winning their first 2 games. Then week 3, they play the Minnesota Vikings. Here's my thing. The Vikings have always had the Chargers number under Mike Zimmer. But Mike Zimmer is no longer the head coach. The Vikings are so lucky this is not a primetime game. If this were a primetime game, Kirk Cousins would be shriveling up into a prune. I hate to say this, but the Chargers are going to lose this one. As good as the Chargers are, the Vikings have everything going for them. They've got a good wide receiver, not just with Justin Jefferson, but they've also got Jordan Addison. And Kirk Cousins isn't bad per se, but he's not terrible. He's okay. He's serviceable. And then Dalvin Cook is probably going to be back, probably on a franchise tag deal. And if Dalvin Cook is back, then Dalvin is going to cook. No pun intended. Anyway, then we have week 4 against Raiders! I'm sorry to those that are listening through earbuds and headphones, but the Chargers are playing the Raiders at SoFi. Larry, forgive me for saying this, but I think the Chargers are beating the Raiders. And it's probably, knowing the Chargers' luck, it's probably going to be very narrow just because the Chargers love to play down to their divisional competition. So I got the Chargers beating the Raiders in week 4. Week 5 is their early bye, which that's disgusting right there. Then in week 6, the Chargers play the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football, and that is disgusting right there. I hate when the Chargers have to play on Monday Night Football because then I have to shuffle around set point that day. And you know what's worse is that the Dallas Cowboys are playing on Monday Night Football, and Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are also going to commentate on that game. So it feels like I'm watching Fox all over again. Anyway, for Dallas Cowboys Chargers on Monday Night Football, that's tough. It's going to be at SoFi Stadium, but Cowboy Nation's going to be at that game. 2 seasons ago, the Chargers got edged by the Cowboys. The Cowboys have a fairly good defense. You know what? I'm going to say the Chargers narrowly escape against the Cowboys. I think the Chargers eke out a win over the Cowboys. It's so tough to project how good Dak Prescott could be. Dak has a good plethora of weapons like CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard and Dalton Schultz. And that defense is also pretty darn good as well. However, it's like the Cowboys can be such a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team, and sometimes they're just so bad. So, for me, I think the Chargers can eke out a win. Will it be an ugly fashion? Definitely. Week 7, the Chargers play the Kansas City Chiefs at Kansas City. See, here's the thing for the Chiefs. They do so good against their divisional foes on the road, but in Kansas City at Arrowhead, if the Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs, they have to do so at Arrowhead Stadium. If they can't, then they're not going to beat the Chiefs the second go around. And I'm not sure if the Chiefs are going to... look, I want to say the Chargers are going to win this one. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think the Chargers are going to lose. I don't think the Chargers are going to win at SoFi. Call me crazy, I think the Chargers win at Arrowhead. I think for some reason the Chargers fluke their way to a victory in Arrowhead over the Chiefs. And let's be realistic, the Chargers actually could have won over the Chiefs. Unfortunately, they had an unfortunate pick six, and then in that Thursday night matchup against the Chiefs, and that was not all on Justin Herbert, and that was not all on Gerald Everett. There was just miscommunication between the two, and it was just a hurry-up, go-ahead offense. That also kind of falls on Joe Lombardi. They should have just ran the ball on the 1-yard line instead of just throwing it. Like, why do people decide to throw the ball on the 1-yard line? I'm just saying. I'm just going to speed this up just to try to get this out of the way a little bit faster. Week 8, at home against the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. I think the Chargers get the job done. The Chargers narrowly escape with that win. Then they hit the road to MetLife to play the New York Jets. I think the Chargers get the job done against the Jets as well on Monday Night Football. Week 10 against the Detroit Lions. Now, the Chargers seem to have a loss or two against teams that they probably should beat, but they don't. I think this is probably one of those teams. I think the Chargers lose to the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions, to me, are an improved team, but I think the Chargers somehow get tripped up against the Lions, and Dan Campbell's done a really good job. And you got to remember, Jared Goff is going to have his little homecoming back to SoFi Stadium. Now, he didn't really get to play a whole lot at SoFi. Did he play one season at SoFi with the Rams, but not a whole lot, just because the Rams didn't really get a chance to play too much, just because they played more at the Coliseum before the movement into SoFi and whatnot. Either way, the Chargers will lose to the Lions in Week 10. Week 11, the Chargers hit the road to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers. I have them winning that matchup. Sorry. Then in Week 12, they host the Baltimore Ravens in Sunday Night Football. This is another tricky matchup right here. They've got the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday Night Football. I've got them with 2 losses already. You know what? I think the Chargers eke out another win. I think this is going to be the running theme for the Chargers this year. Eking out wins. And honestly, I think they just narrowly escape with another win. It's going to be another ugly win. And I'm just going to say this. The Chargers probably have one of the tougher schedules out there. For me, Lamar Jackson, with that renewed contract, he's going to be better motivated to play for the Baltimore Ravens. But I think the Chargers narrowly escape on Sunday Night Football. Now, Week 13 is going to be a whole other story. While the Chargers will win on Sunday Night Football, they are definitely losing against the Patriots. You're probably thinking, well, why is that, Teran? Well, the Patriots always have the number when it comes to the Chargers. I have no idea why. I don't know how Bill Belichick does it, but he just seems to have the number for the Chargers. I just don't know how, especially against young quarterbacks. But the Chargers will lose to the New England Patriots, and it's at New England, so it sucks because that game falls on my birthday, and I don't want the Chargers to lose to the Patriots, especially since I have a friend that really is going to rub it in my face if the Chargers lose. But I have the Chargers realistically losing to the Patriots. Then in Week 14, the Chargers host the Broncos. I think they win that game. Then Week 15, the Chargers hit the road to Sin City to take on Raiders. I promise you I will stop doing that. That's a short turnaround, but I think the Chargers get the job done. But it's going to be a very ugly game. Larry said in the chat room, 2 guaranteed wins. Larry, I don't like having to guarantee wins against the Raiders, especially since they're vastly underrated, and I think they had a decent draft. But if you insist. Then Week 16, the Chargers host the Buffalo Bills on Saturday Night Football. I think that's going to be a 5 p.m. start. Now, the Buffalo Bills, this is my biggest concern with the last 3 games for the Chargers. They have the Buffalo Bills, they're at the Denver Broncos, and they're at home against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have never lost, with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, they've never lost a divisional road game. The Broncos have had the Chargers number at Mile High Stadium, and then the Bills are just the Bills. So, with those last 3 games, I hate to say this, but the Chargers are losing all 3 of those games. I could already guarantee all 3 of those losses. Maybe the Bills one could be a win, but I think the Broncos are improved, and like I said, the Broncos have the Chargers number at Denver. I don't know why. It must be a Denver thing. The Chiefs obviously are going to have the Chargers number, unless of course the Chiefs have the number 1 seed locked up, they rest all their starters, and then the Chargers win that game with all their starters in. And then the Bills one, that's going to also be tough. I know it's going to be at SoFi Stadium, but Bills Mafia travels very well, and we all know how good Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs is going to be, and it's going to be a bloodbath in that game. And we already know how good Josh Allen can be. For the Chargers, if they want to have any hope of winning that game, they're going to need everybody. So, realistically, I have the Chargers finishing 11-6. Maybe 12-5, but if I'm being realistic, I think 11-6 sounds fair if you ask me. Just because the last 3 games are going to be brutal. I mean, for the Broncos one is definitely their house of horrors. And then the Chiefs one, obviously that's going to be another one where if they could maybe... again, it's basically... It all depends on if the Chiefs have... It all depends on playoff positioning. The Bills one I know is going to be a challenge. And heck, even the Raiders one maybe could be a challenge. But time will tell. And then the Patriots one, like I said, that's going to also be a challenge. Like, I'm not going to try and say that the Chargers are going to go 17-0. Like, I'm not going to be like some of these delusional fans of some of these teams and say, my team is going to go 17-0. I'm going to be realistic. And I'm just going to say, my team is going to go 11-6. The Chargers are probably going to make the wild card, but we'll see. But all in all for the Chargers, it should be a good season. What I just hope for is that I hope they're healthy. And this could probably be a big year for Brandon Staley. If Staley does not get this team to the playoffs, or at least win one playoff game, I think the Chargers got to move on from him. The Chargers, from what I've seen in like other football videos on YouTube and everyone else's opinion, everyone says that the Chargers should have fired Brandon Staley the minute that the Chargers blew that 27-0 lead. And I totally agree. Was it a 27-0 lead? I think it was, either way, the Chargers should have just fired Staley the minute that they blew that lead. And I totally agree. I absolutely agree that the Chargers should have fired Brandon Staley. But at least they moved in the correct direction for moving on from Brandon Staley. Or not Brandon Staley, Joe Lombardi. At least they move on from Joe Lombardi. Now, Brandon Staley is skating on thin ice, and he's got to basically... This is his make or break year. Because if he fouls up, he's that thin ice that he's skating on, it's going to crack and he's going to sink. He's sinking. He's sinking, and he's going to swim with the sharks. And there's no fishing him out for good. And he could go back with Sean McVay for all we know. And I could care less. But that's just me. Anyway, so that's basically my little preview for the Rams and the Chargers. I know I spent an hour on the NFL. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. So we're just going to take a little break, quick little breaky break, and when we come back, we will have some NBA talk. I promise you all there will be no more NFL talk the rest of the way. We'll have some NBA talk, we'll have some MLS talk, and then we'll have some Dum Dum of the Week talk. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo sports with a twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
And nobody circles the wagons better than the Buffalo Bills. Definitely do check out the Buffalo Huddle and the Sports Couple Perspective here on IE Sports Radio. Welcome back to the second half of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Back with the second half of the show. Larry B also added in the chat room, the Raiders don't deserve that cool way of saying their name, aka the Chris Berman way of saying the Raiders. All right, well, I will refrain from saying the Raiders the way of the Chris Berman way, but anyway, let's get on into the second half of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. So we have to jump on into the Los Angeles Lakers, as the Lakers defeated the Golden State Warriors 4-2 as they won Game 6 last night in dominating fashion as they thumped them 122-101. So I haven't really talked about the whole series against the Golden State Warriors just because obviously the NBA got in the way, and sadly I just haven't been able to, which sucks, but it is what it is. Anyway, so for the Lakers, in the first game, the Lakers won that game 117-112 at Oracle Arena, or wherever the Golden State Warriors is. Chase Center, sorry. I'm stuck in the old school. I keep thinking that Golden State's arena's name is Oracle Arena, but it's Chase Center. I'm still stuck in the past. So, Lakers won in San Francisco 117-112. That was a huge win for the Lakers, just because if they don't win that game one, then this series is going 7 games. So, and like the old saying goes, the series starts when a team wins on the road. So the Lakers won game 1 117-112. Then in game 2, the Lakers got thumped by the Warriors 127-100. But then in game 3, the Lakers stomped all over the Golden State Warriors 127-97. Then in game 4, the Lakers thought they were going to be losing on the road, which would have been a first considering the Warriors are complete dog-do on the road. But then they managed to come back and they managed to defeat the Warriors 104-101 in game 4. Then in game 5, this was probably the scariest game for the Lakers. They obviously lost 121-106, but the scary thing was that Anthony Davis got hit in the head inadvertently by one of the Golden State Warriors players, and this was late in the fourth quarter, and he left the game, and it looked like he had gotten a concussion, and every Laker fan was fearing the worst. Anthony Davis wasn't going to play in Game 6, and it looked like this was going to be Lakers-Suns back in 2021. Fortunately, Anthony Davis was okay, and he was ready for Game 6, and he was able to help contribute with LeBron James to the Game 6 win over the Golden State Warriors, as LeBron James led the way last night with 30 points. This was his first 30-point game since Game 5 in the bubble against the Miami Heat. It's been that long since LeBron had a 30-point game. So, while LeBron is still one of the better players in the NBA, I will say this, I think Father Time might be catching up to him, but I digress. It was not the best night for the Warriors, as there are only 2 players in double digits for the Warriors. Steph Curry was one of them with 32 points, while the other one was Dante DiVincenzo. I think I'm pronouncing his last name right, as he had 16 points off the bench. But their only other starter that came close to Steph Curry was Draymond Green, who had 9 points and 9 boards. For the Lakers, they had 4 guys in double digits. Austin Reeves had 23 points. He even had a half-court shot to end the second quarter. It was just a thing of beauty. He didn't even need to use the backboard. Austin Reeves is him. I know I'm over-exaggerating, but that was just a him moment. D'Angelo Russell had 19 points. Anthony Davis had 17 points and 20 boards. The only starter not in double digits was Dennis Schroeder, who had only 3 points. But the reason why he only had 3 points was because he got ejected, because he and Draymond Green were pretty much going at it. Dennis Schroeder got a technical foul just because I think he taunted Draymond Green, and then he got a double technical with Draymond Green just because the two were jawing at one another, and Schroeder, after that double tech, got kicked out. But the Dennis Schroeder was nice to wait for his teammates following the following the game, and that was nice. That was great of him, for him to wait for his teammates after the game. Lonnie Walker IV also had double digits as he chipped in 13 points. He was 3 for 5 from downtown, and Rui Hachimura added 9 points for the Lakers, which was also key. Rui Hachimura has been such a great acquisition from the Washington Wizards. That has been so clutch right there. Like, I will just say this for Rob Pelinka. He made some great acquisitions post the draft. And I will just say, you also got to remember, the Lakers were, if we're keeping score here, they started 0-5 to start the season. They were 2-10 at the All-Star break. They had less than a 1% chance to make the playoffs. They had to play in the play-in game. They won their play-in game. They had to play the 2-seed Memphis Grizzlies, beat the Memphis Grizzlies in 6 games. They had to play the reigning champion Golden State Warriors, and they beat the Golden State Warriors, the reigning champs, in 6 games. And now they're advancing to the Western Conference Finals. Basically, that's the Lakers season in a nutshell right there. Just as everybody predicted. So, not bad for the Lakers. And and let's not forget, the Lakers finished last in the Pacific Division. Yes, we all got to remember that the Suns finished first in the division. They're out because they lost to the Nuggets. The Clippers, which finished second in the Pacific Division, they got bounced in round 1 to the Suns. The let's not forget the Sacramento Kings. They got bounced in round 1 by the Warriors. The Suns bounced the Clippers in 5 games in round 1. Then, like I said, the Suns lost to the Grizzlies in this round. And then the Warriors got bounced in this round by the Lakers. So, the Lakers, which finished last in the Pacific Division, are the sole surviving team in the Pacific Division that remains in the Western Conference playoffs. Just like everybody predicted. So, good job to the Lakers. And we also got to remember that the Lakers were part of that bubble Final Four team, along with the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat, who, believe it or not, have all advanced to the Final Four or the conference finals of the NBA playoffs. But there is still one more team that still remains, and that is either the Boston Celtics or the Philadelphia 76ers. It would be quite something if the Boston Celtics advanced to the conference finals, which that would mean the Los Angeles Lakers, Denver Nuggets, Miami Heat, and Boston Celtics advanced to the conference finals, which all 4 of those teams were in the bubble conference finals back in 2020, which I think is pretty funny. And yet people are still saying, the bubble doesn't count. Shut up. Anyway, before I lose my mind and before I lose my composure, the Lakers play the Denver Nuggets on Tuesday at Denver. Denver has the home court advantage, of course. The Lakers didn't have home court advantage. The Lakers lost home court advantage the minute the Nuggets beat. I don't even remember who their first round opponent was. Was it the Timberwolves? Yeah, it was the Timberwolves, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was the Timberwolves. Or was it the Thunder? Either way, the minute the Nuggets advanced out of the first round, it was the minute the Lakers lost home court advantage. But they've done a great job of not even tripping over not having home court advantage. So good. Yeah, it was the Timberwolves that the Nuggets beat in the first round. And they beat them in 5 games. And the Nuggets beat the Suns in 6 games. So for the Lakers, they kind of have the work cut out for them, as now they're facing the 1 seed. So we'll see what happens. And silly me, I thought that the Lakers were not going to match up well against Golden State. But lo and behold, the Lakers used their size to play bully ball. But I guess this also goes to show that my brother was right. 3-pointers are indeed a game of chance. But that was back when my brother and I were young, and he said 3-pointers are a game of chance. We'll see. But we'll see how the Lakers match up against Nikola Jokic and the rest of the Denver Nuggets this Tuesday. I can't wait to see what the Lakers have in store for us. They are the only team remaining in California that still remains in the NBA playoffs, and they're also the only team in the Pacific Division that remain in the playoffs as well. So we'll see what happens in the Western Conference playoffs. But that's going to do it for the Lakers, and I can't wait to see them in action. All right, so let's jump to some MLS as, well, unfortunately for LAFC, we've got some good news and bad news for them. Let's start with the bad news. So last Saturday, they lost their first MLS game as they lost to the San Jose Quakes 2-1. And, well, unfortunately for LAFC, it's their first loss of the MLS season. The good news is that they're still in the top 3 of the Western Conference, which isn't bad. It's only their first loss of their season, and believe it or not, San Jose's actually improved. I remember last year they were one of the more worst teams in the MLS, aka the league last year. But now, San Jose has really drastically improved. But then again, it seems like the league is a paradigm shift of last year. Like last year, Seattle was fairly bad and the Galaxy were good. But now it seems like it's a complete flip-flop. So that's the bad news for LAFC. They lost their first game of the MLS. The good news is that LAFC is advanced to the CONCACAF finals. As remember how they tied with the Philadelphia Union in the CONCACAF semifinals first leg? In the second leg, they managed to dominate the Philadelphia Union 3-1. As in terms of the aggregate, they won 4-1 altogether as they advanced to the CONCACAF finals, where they will play Lyon in the CONCACAF finals. It'll be the first and second leg. The first leg will be on May 31st at 7 p.m. at Lyon, wherever that is going to be at. But we might as well see where it's going to be at, as Lyon is going to be in Aldamas, Mexico. And then the second game between Lyon and LAFC is going to be at Bank BMO Stadium. That's not Bank of California Stadium. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, it's going to be located in Los Angeles, California. But anyway, I think the reason being for LAFC and Atlanta United being postponed is because of LAFC being in the CONCACAF finals. And I don't think anyone predicted LAFC being in the CONCACAF finals. I don't think I even predicted this. So, good job to LAFC being in the CONCACAF finals. But that's not the only tournament that LAFC is partaking in outside of the MLS. They actually are partaking in the U.S. Open Cup, as they just opened that up on Tuesday, as they beat Monterey Bay 2-2, but they actually beat them in penalty kicks 5-4. So in that matchup, they actually scored the first goal courtesy of Christian Torres. So it was 1-1, and then in the 90th minute, Simon Dawkins of Monterey Bay scored, and then I guess they went into overtime. I actually don't know the rules to the U.S. Open Cup. I don't know if they add more time, or if they go into stoppage time, or if they go into overtime. But either way, I think according to the ESPN app, I guess they had 15 minutes. So in the 94th minute, Monterey Bay scored in the 94th minute, courtesy of Jesse Maldonado to take the lead. And then in the 105th minute, oh my goodness, this guy has the longest name. Matthias Vinicius Maya Costa del Almeida scored in the 105th minute to give LAFC the equalizer. And eventually LAFC won on penalty kicks 5-4. Kind of reminded me of the LAFC Philadelphia Union MLS final, except LAFC won in a little bit more comfortable fashion. And also, it didn't have extended time on extended time on extended time on overtime on overtime on overtime going into penalty kicks. But anyway, LAFC is moving on to the round of 16, which, believe it or not, the round of 16 opponent is going to be played on May 23rd, a Tuesday. And can we get a drum roll, please? So their round of 32 or round of 16 opponent is none other than the LA Galaxy. Yes, we get El Tráfico in the round of 16, as this will be played at BMO Stadium. I guess that's the new stadium name for LAFC. I guess they got rid of Bank of California Stadium, which I think that's stupid. So BMO Stadium, who changed that name? Anyway, so the Galaxy beat the Seattle Sounders 3-1 in the round of 32 of the U.S. Open Cup. So good job to the Galaxy. Of course, the Galaxy beat the Seattle Sounders in the U.S. Open Cup, which doesn't count toward MLS. Good job, Galaxy. Way to win when it does not count. On Saturday, May 6th, they lost to the Colorado Rapids at home 3-1. It's just been that season for the Galaxy, but at least they get a little bit of a consolation prize of advancing to the round of 16 and being able to play LAFC in the U.S. Open Cup. So, as for the MLS, their next game, the Galaxy's next game is going to be on Sunday, which is tomorrow, where they will host the San Jose Quakes, and I'm just wondering if the Galaxy have changed their stadium name. Nope, it's still Dignity Health Sports Park, so it's still Dignity Health Sports Park for the Galaxy, and they are facing one of the top teams in the Western Conference in San Jose. Well, that's a little concerning for the Galaxy. They're playing San Jose, and, well, they've struggled immensely this season in the MLS. So I hope the Galaxy play their best soccer, because it's the battle of what? I forget the rivalry name between the Galaxy and the Quakes, but you better represent Galaxy. Just please don't lose. Meanwhile, for LAFC, they hit the road to Salt Lake City to play Real Salt Lake tonight at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time at America First Field. So for Real Salt Lake, they are 11th in the Western Conference. They're near the bottom of the standings, like near LA Galaxy. So for LAFC, this is their chance to pick themselves off the mat and for them to basically get back to their dominant status in terms of the MLS. Also, LAFC has a midweek matchup where they play the Kansas City or Sporting KC. That's going to be a tricky matchup right there. And also, I want to say the Galaxy have a midweek matchup against the Columbus Crew, and they do. So, kind of a midweek mania for the Galaxy, and they also have, and for LAFC. So, we'll see what happens, and my fear is that I hope the Galaxy and LAFC just don't get fatigued too much, and they play one another in their U.S. Open Cup matchup on Tuesday the 23rd. So hopefully the two will be at full strength come that matchup. But for right now, they got to get their MLS matchups out of the way, and I look forward to seeing what they could do. So go get them. Just get your MLS Cup matchups out of the way, and we look forward to seeing you. All right, that is going to do it for the MLS portion of the show. Let's jump to some MLB action. So for the Angels, the Angels, they haven't been bad. They're actually leading the Houston Astros, which is good. But the Houston Astros aren't leading the AL West. The one that is actually leading the AL West is the Texas Rangers, which has been real surprising. So I actually have a lot of ground to make up when it comes to the MLB, since I missed the previous week because of me being out of town. So where we left off, I want to say, was the first week of was the last week of April. Well, let's go over the last week of April and then go from there. So on Friday, it was the Angels losing 2 out of 3 against the Brewers as they lost the first game 2-1, and then they lost the second game 7-5. The Angels salvaged a win over the Brewers as they beat them 3-0, as that was at least some sort of win. They did sweep the St. Louis Cardinals, which was good because the Cardinals are not good this year, I'm sorry to say, as the Cardinals won Game 1 5-1, then Game 2 6-4, and then the final game 11-7. Then last weekend they lost 2 out of 3 against the Texas Rangers. They won the first game in 10 innings 5-4, but lost the second game in blowout fashion 10-1. Then they lost the third and final game 16-8. Then against the Houston Astros, they lost 2 out of 3 against them. What's with the Angels losing 2 out of 3? Gosh. They won the first game 6-4, which was promising. And then they lost the next two 3-1, and then they lost the rubber match 5-4. Yesterday they opened up a 3-game series against the Cleveland Guardians, winning 5-4. Today they play the Cleveland Guardians at Cleveland at 3:10 p.m. Pacific time, and then tomorrow they play the Guardians at 8:35 a.m. Pacific time on Peacock. And then Monday through Wednesday, they hit the road to the DMV, or actually Monday through Thursday, they hit the road to the DMV to take on the Baltimore Orioles. Then Friday through Sunday, they head to they head back to Angel Stadium to play the Minnesota Twins. And then that'll be that for that matchup right there. And then depending on what my plans will be like next week, will depend on, well, not next week, the following week, but we'll see. But for the time being, the Angels, they are currently 21-18. That Orioles matchup is going to be tricky. The Orioles and the entire AL East are very good. So the AL East is so good. The Yankees are the worst team in that division. They're only 4 games above 500. So, yeesh. So jumping over to the NL West, the Dodgers are back in first place where they belong, which is very nice. Yes, I did not even use a Boro reference. Anyway, so the Dodgers are 3 games ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the Dodgers are restoring order quite a bit, as the Dodgers are 24-15, which that was a little concerning. I'm not gonna lie. The Dodgers thought they were bad, but they're actually doing good. So I guess I should also go over the Pittsburgh Pirates series. They lost 2 out of... Well, actually, no, I went over the Pittsburgh Pirates the previous week. So against the St. Louis Cardinals, they swept the St. Louis Cardinals, which was no surprise. No offense, Cardinals fans. They won the first game last Friday, the previous Friday, 7-3. Then they won the other game 1-0. And then they won on the 30th of April 6-3. Then they faced the Philadelphia Phillies. They swept that series against the Phillies, winning 13-4 on Monday, May 1st. Then they won 13-1 on May 2nd, and then on May 3rd they won that game 10-6. Then they had last Thursday off, and then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they faced the San Diego Padres for the first time since the previous playoff series where they, lost in embarrassing fashion. So game 1, the Padres won that series 5-2. Game 2, the Dodgers narrowly won 2-1. Then in the rubber match where the two got to play on Sunday Night Baseball, the Dodgers narrowly escaped with a 5-10 win in extra innings. Then on Monday through Wednesday, the Dodgers headed down to the Cheeseland to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Dodgers took 2 out of 3 against the Brewers as they lost the first game 9-3, but won the next 2 games, winning 6-2 on Tuesday and 8-1 on Wednesday. Yesterday, they kicked off a 3-game series against the Padres at Dodger Stadium as they won that first game 4-2. Today, they play the Padres at 4:15 p.m. Pacific time, and then tomorrow they play the Padres at 1:10 p.m. Pacific time, which, yeah, it should be a great series. The Dodgers appear to be shaking off their slow start. The Padres, on the other hand, I'll get into them a little bit. It looks like they're a little bit rocky at the moment. For the Dodgers, after their series against the Padres, they have a 3-game series at home against the Minnesota Twins in interleague play on Monday through Wednesday. Then, from Thursday all the way through Sunday, they will head down to St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. So we'll see what happens with the Cardinals going forward. The Dodgers realistically could possibly, hence the word possibly, following the Padres series, be on a 7-game winning streak, but time will tell. But we'll see. Then we have the Padres, which they're under 500. They're actually the worst of the 3 SoCal teams in the MLB, which, if you had told me that, I would have looked at you a little bit funny. But I'm not gonna like go full on into detail. So, in the Mexico City series, the Padres were actually doing quite well. They actually swept the Mexico City series against the Giants. They won that series, the first game, 16-11 on the 29th. Then, on the 30th, the Padres beat the Giants 6-4, which everything was looking quite well. And then the Padres won 2 out of 3 against the Reds last month. Not this past Monday, but the following Monday, as they won the first game 8-3 on the 1st of May. Then on the 2nd of May, they dropped a heartbreaker to the Reds 2-1. Then in the rubber match, the Padres beat the Reds 7-1. Then, well, I already mentioned the Dodgers-Padres series. Padres lost 2 out of 3, which sucks for them. Then this past Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Minnesota Twins. After a day off on Monday, they won the first match. They won the first game against the Twins 6-1. But then the next 2 games sadly did not go the way of the Padres, as they lost in 11 innings to the Twins 4-3. And then they lost the third and final game against the Twins 5-3. And I already mentioned the loss to the Dodgers at the Chavez Ravine, losing 4-2. And I already mentioned the next 2 games in their times. So after the series against the Dodgers, the Padres host the Kansas City Royals on Monday through Wednesday. They better start winning those games. Like, that's probably the remedy for their losing-itis. And then next Friday through Sunday, the Padres host the Boston Red Sox, the improved Boston Red Sox. But the Red Sox have kind of been in a little bit of a rut as well in terms of losing. But I think the Padres can win that one as well. So we'll see what happens with them going forward. But for the time being, the Padres, it's, like I said, like I've been saying on Twitter, the season is more so of a marathon and not a sprint. I think the Padres will be fine. They did get Fernando Tatis back reinstated after his injuries and his suspensions. The Dodgers are starting to get their you-know-what together. The Angels, to me, they're still the biggest anomaly of the 3. I want them to do good, but here's the thing. How much can their good fortune continue? That's my biggest question for the Angels. Can their good fortune continue to last all the way to the finish line of the regular season? That's still my biggest concern for the Angels. And can they still avoid the injury bug at all costs? So we'll see what happens. But that is that for the Angels, Dodgers, and Padres right there. Let's talk a little bit about the Well, let's go back to what Larry said about the mecca of volleyball, Southern California. Well, yes. Last Saturday, we had UCLA winning its 20th NCAA Men's Volleyball Championship as they beat the University of Hawaii in the national championship match 3-1. It was quite the match, and I feel bad for missing the second set, but they managed to basically have the answer for Hawaii, and I will eat a lot of crow for basically picking against UCLA. Now, in my defense, I did not expect UCLA to pass all that well. I thought Hawaii, playing such great volleyball, was going to do that great, but UCLA just played a much cleaner game against Hawaii. So I give UCLA a lot of credit where credit is due. And John Spurrell finally won his men's volleyball championship with UCLA. And UCLA became the first MPSF team since UC Irvine, when UC Irvine was in the MPSF, to win a national championship in men's volleyball. And Larry B said best. UCLA surprised us. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think UCLA surprised us. They had been top 5 throughout the entire season. And they had some question marks. They had a loss to Penn State. They had gone 5 sets with Penn State. Their conference wasn't overly spectacular. I mean, UCLA was just thrashing everybody. They hadn't gone 5 sets. It's not like the Big West Conference where there were 3 top 5 teams. So for me, I thought that was kind of the biggest thing for UCLA. Were they getting challenged enough like Hawaii was in the Big West Conference? So that was my thing. That was kind of my biggest concern as well. But overall for UCLA, they had themselves a great postseason run, and Troy Gooch, their libero, was a big reason why. And the scary part about UCLA is that they return a majority of their players outside of like Troy Gooch. Their offense is the one that their offensive players minus Alex Knight, who was named their most outstanding player, returns next year. Troy Gooch, their libero, doesn't return next year, but they already got a junior college volleyball player transfer coming in. And he hails from Japan, and he was just dynamite for Orange Coast College in the national championship game and all season. So he's going to vie for minutes as well. So there's that. And then I also want to give a shout out to USC's beach volleyball team as they three-peated, as they managed to beat UCLA in the national championship game last Sunday. Now, I will eat my crow about USC as well, as I did not expect USC to get to the championship game, let alone to win the national championship. I actually had them losing to TCU in the semifinals. But you never, ever, ever can doubt the heart of a champion. USC really, really brought it against the Horned Frogs, and I have to admit, USC really came up big when it mattered most against UCLA at the beginning. Now, they almost kind of blew it, but then when it truly mattered, USC doubled down, went all in, and they came up big in the tiebreaker, and that's how they were able to win the national championship and three-peat. It's actually the first female sport at USC to three-peat in any sport. So it's huge for USC beach volleyball, and they have 5 out of the 7 national championships in beach volleyball. The other 2, like I said on set point, are occupied by UCLA. For UCLA, I was very surprised at the uncharacteristic start of the duel, where they fell behind 0-2, and they had to work their way back. If they don't fall behind 0-2, I know it sounds cliche, but they're probably winning that duel 9 times out of 10. Now, maybe they outthought themselves, but I don't know. Maybe they shuffled around their lineup a little too much to the point where they basically they played themselves. Just my process. Just my opinion. But for UCLA, they'll be back. And can USC four-peat? That's my thought process. But we'll see. And then I might as well talk a little about the NVA before I get into Dum Dum of the Week. So for the NVA, long story short, the Orange County Stunners went 2-0 last weekend. The San Diego Wild suffered their first loss of the season, losing at the hands of the Las Vegas Ramblers. The Inland Empire Matadors went 1-1. And then the Los Angeles Blaze still does not have a win, which makes me sad face. I hope they can get a win because they have talent on their team. It's just all about just putting it all into motion against some of these bigger, better teams. But we'll see what happens with the Los Angeles Blaze going forward. Still some season remaining, as I think they could still salvage their season, but time is starting to not be of the essence in terms of certain teams that are like 0-4 and 1 or 3 and whatnot. You'll catch more NVA action on Set Point. But for right now, it's time for me to get on into Dum Dum of the Week. So the Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to someone, or Larry B says the Matadors should have been 2-0, just saying. Yeah, they should have. They lost to a then winless team, the Philadelphia Founders. And the worst part is I didn't see that matchup. I'll have to go back to see what the heck went wrong with the Philadelphia Founders and the Matadors matchup. But it is what it is. But anyway, so the Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to someone or some organization that does or says something dumb. It could be anyone that gets this award, and I will not hold back on this. And I know the perfect set of people or organizations that can get this award. So the first one, I actually have multiple ones that can get this award. And the first person that gets this award is someone that likes to quote unquote poke the bear. Oh, and you all know who I'm talking about. This man thinks he's so clever, thinking that he likes to poke bears, thinking that he's so clever with his whole, unless they give me 40, you don't have my respect. You all know who I'm talking about. Dylan Brooks of the Memphis Grizzlies, or soon to be formerly of the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, Dylan Brooks thought he was so smart, running his mouth, poking fun of LeBron James, trying to stir the pot with him and whatnot. But instead, he basically did all that smack talk for nothing. And look at what happened. The Memphis Grizzlies were one and done, and now they're just chilling out in Cancun. So Dylan Brooks, I don't know what to say to you, man. You were running your mouth, poking the bear, and you were just saying, you were basically telling everybody that LeBron James was washed, and you were poking the bear and saying that you can get under LeBron James' skin. But in all reality, you were the one, you played yourself, brother, and you did all that smack talk for nothing. And this award could probably go to the entire Memphis Grizzlies squad that was talking all sorts of smack to not just the Lakers, but the entire NBA. Heck, even the Memphis Grizzlies Twitter admin who even said, "Hold this L, Lakers," after the Grizzlies beat the Lakers in the regular season, can get this Dum Dum of the Week award as well. And the funny thing is, when the Lakers beat the Memphis Grizzlies in Game 6, the Lakers Twitter admin put nothing but respect Memphis Grizzlies, or respect Memphis Grizzlies. So it's like, that's bold of you to put, Lakers admin, that's bold of you to put respect at Memphis Grizzlies. First of all, that's big W of the award, big W of the week material for the Lakers admin to put respect to the Memphis Grizzlies for all the smack talking that the Grizzlies and their Twitter admin has been putting throughout the entire season. But for the Memphis Grizzlies, mainly Dylan Brooks, for all the smack talk, for all the bear poking that they've done to LeBron. And let's get this out of the way. I'm no LeBron stan, but I will just say this. You talk smack and you get whacked. You better back. Then this is just something else to make note of for Dillon Brooks. There are rumors saying that Dillon Brooks might not be brought back for the Memphis Grizzlies next year. So, yeah. Unfortunately for Dillon Brooks, he might be played out of the NBA. And it's all because of his smack talking and him poking the bear. So, unfortunately for Dillon Brooks, for Ja Morant, and for the Memphis Grizzlies, including their Twitter admin, who even said, hold this L at Lakers, you're this week's Dum-Dum of the Week. I know it's overdue, but you're the Dum-Dum of the Week because of all the smack talking you did in the regular season, and it came back to haunt you because the Lakers did you in 6.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
So that's the first Dum-Dum of the Week. Now the second Dum-Dum of the Week. And it gets even better. So there was this viral video of, okay, I believe in superstitions, and I believe in, like, some predictions. I believe in predictions and whatnot. I also saw this random video of a corgi. Now, let me just get this out of the way. I love corgis. For those that don't know what a corgi is, it's a cute dog. It's like the prince, I think it's like the queen's dog. Just look up the word corgi, C-O-R-G-I. It's a cute dog. They're like so chill and whatnot. As long as you don't like hurt it, corgis are going to be really cute and adorable to you. They're really cool. So apparently this corgi tried to predict the Lakers-Warriors series. So the cute dog predicts... this is going to be so tough to predict. Just look up Corgi predicts Lakers-Warriors series 2023. The Corgi basically pops the inflated beach balls in like laundry baskets, and then it eventually goes Warriors 4-3. It tried to prophesize the entire Lakers-Warriors series. One ball goes into the Lakers basket, another goes into the Warriors basket, 2 more go into the Lakers basket, and then the next 3 go into the Warriors basket. So, at the point where the Lakers are up 3-1, and then the next one goes 3-2, and then the Warriors win Game 5, every Warriors fan is thinking the corgi is going to be right. And it's so tough to describe this, but every Warriors fan is like hailing the corgi, and it's like they want the corgi to be right. First of all, you're really going to believe a superstition and a little prophecy. How do we know that this was actually going to be correct? First of all, this could have been a Warriors fan that could have had multiple takes of the corgi popping the ball into the Warriors basket. And this could have had like multiple failed attempts where the corgi popped the ball into the basket of the wrong team, or just popped the ball into out of play. Now, I have Warriors fans who I'm friends with, and for Warriors fans that I'm friends with, this is not aimed at you. But for Warriors fans who are believing in a corgi to be your saving grace, you might want to find a new savior and whatnot. So, for Warriors fans who are thinking that a corgi is going to be your saving grace, and a corgi is literally going to be the thing that was going to be the thing that saves the Golden State Warriors season, you're dead wrong. I'm sorry, but it wasn't going to be the thing that saves the Golden State Warriors season. And for Warrior fans who were basically going to believe and say the Warriors we're going to come back from a 3-1 deficit, you also have to remember the facts. LeBron James teams have never blown a 3-1 series lead. And you also got to remember, The Golden State Warriors are complete trash on the road. And you also got to remember, Game 6 was at the Crypto.com arena. You can't expect me to believe that the Warriors, with that pitiful road record, were actually going to beat the Los Angeles Lakers in a closeout game with Anthony Davis healthy. Well, not healthy, but with Anthony Davis most likely ready. Now, if Anthony Davis was not playing, then the Warriors would have had a boxer's chance. But for you Warriors fans banking on a Corgi's so-called prediction, which heaven knows how many attempts that took, I can't believe the world that we live in nowadays. But for the Warriors fans that bank on a Corgi's prediction, for my Warriors fans who are friends that banked on the Corgi's prediction, you're excluded from this. But for Warriors fans who banked on the Corgi's prediction, that were just so high on the Corgi's prediction that just said, we trust in the Corgi. Well, where's your Corgi prediction now, huh? I'll just leave it at this. If you're still believing in superstitions like that, please don't. Regardless, you're this week's Dum Dum of the Week. If you still believe in random superstitions such as that. If you believe in superstitions like that, then bully for you. But if you're still banking on superstitions, if you're banking on superstitions to help to think that your team is going to win a series and not banking on actual numbers, facts, and figures, well then you're dead wrong.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. Speaking of facts and figures, I did not know this. The Lakers actually became the first Western Conference team to beat the Golden State Warriors in a series in the playoffs in the Steve Kerr era. So you got to remember, Steve Kerr has been coaching the Golden State Warriors since 2014, and not one team from the Western Conference has been able to beat the Golden State Warriors in a playoff series. Either the Warriors have either missed the playoffs or they've gone to the finals, where they've either beaten the Cleveland Cavaliers, or they've lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers, or they've lost to the Toronto Raptors with Kawhi Leonard, or they've beaten the Boston Celtics. But either way, that's kind of your Snapple fun fact right there. So the Lakers did probably the unthinkable, and they made history against the Golden State Warriors again in the Steve Kerr era. Good on you, Lakers. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for me to get on out of here, because I got to get ready to start my day. Well, not start my day, but to pretty much get on ready to get my plans ready for tonight. You dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning on into the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. I'll try to be as consistent as I can. I should be consistent next week, if not the week before, because the NBA in 2 more weeks actually will be on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, as opposed to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is a relief. Shout out to the chat room on Spreaker, Larry B, Mike, Pat, and Cale Henderson for popping into the chat room. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. It really means a lot. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy all the SoCal sports happening. Enjoy everything that's happening in the world of SoCal sports, whether it's college sports, whether it's pro sports, whether it's anything that's happening right now. I will see you all next week. Keep an eye out on the day and time that SoCal is going to be going on next week. It might vary, but until then, enjoy the weekend. Don't do anything dumb that could land you on Dumb Dumb Week. And I will see you Monday for Set Point. Have a great rest of the weekend, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!